what was that? What was that performance? It was an amazing performance from the team, from Manchester United. It is Manchester United 3, Aston Villa 1. It was a great performance. I mean, like from the first half, it felt like we started better than we started against Newcastle. Maybe because of several other factors, but like it felt like we started better than we started against Newcastle. And like I said, long may it continue. But the truth is, we've been having games like this, but then we have not had these games consistently. So it's been a problem. Manchester United made it 5 wins out of 5 at Old Trafford, basically. Under Michael Carrick with an important 3-1 victory over fellow Champions League hopefuls, Aston Villa. So now we're 3 points ahead of Aston Villa, who are fourth, and Man United are third. And some few months ago, or a month or two ago, basically, Manchester United were 11 points from Aston Villa. And right now, we're 3 points ahead of Aston Villa. What a swing between, both teams and all of that. But the first half was a bit cagey. United looked to have deserved the lead early on through a Casemiro's seventh goal of the season before the visitors equalized through Ross Barkley. But the truth is, I was trying to observe certain things in the game, which we'll talk about as we go. Matheus Cunha actually put one back in front inside the 20 minutes of the second half after he was being teed up by Bruno Fernandes, whose 2 assists on the afternoon took his tally to 16 of the season, a best ever figure recorded by a United player in a Premier League campaign, still with 8 games to play. So there are chances that he's going to smash that record, and long may it continue. Hopefully he gets up to 20 assists this season, because he's just 4 assists away. But then that's a good return for Bruno Fernandes as a player. That's a good return, and I was pleased. I was happy that he turned up on the day. Also, Benjamin Sesko came off the bench to make sure of the victory by keeping the Reds in the third, and basically in a promising position to secure the UEFA Champions League football next season. And Villa remain a place further back in fourth, now 3 points clear. Dalot also and Amad starting this game actually created an opportunity for Manchester United in the first half. It gave us strength on the right side of the game, on the right side of the field. Give us actually strength. Dalot was the fly fullback, which made Amad to invert, and sometimes when he hugs the touch line, there was some good combinations going on right there, right? They came back into the starting lineup, and just to give you a hint of an idea of what the starting lineup looked like on the day, basically, we started with, and that was actually my prediction on the day. We started with Son Lammers in net, who really had nothing more to do. Then we had Diogo Dalot, Lenioro, Maguire, and Shaw, which was the back four that started against Newcastle, I believe. And then you have Casemiro and Menu also doing really well on the day. And then you have Amad and then Bruno and Cunha in the 3, and then Mbumo as the striker. And the truth is, we had a lot going on. We had a lot of pace. We had a lot of intensity. We started really well. And then obviously Villa wanted to keep us in a cagey way where they were making things a little bit slow, trying to set traps for us. I talked about the trap that Villa likes to set. And then, it was pretty good to see that Man United didn't let them have that trap. And this is one of the games where we had more possession, and we'll talk about that when we're talking about the player ratings. But this is one of the games where we had more possession, and yet we're able to, come up with the goods, with the goals, and to win the game as well. Villa lined up in a 4-2-3-1 as well, with John McGinn coming back for his first game in the Premier League since his knee injury. You also had a situation where, Morgan Rogers was the player I was keeping an eye on, and we're going to do another video analyzing the players that Manchester United can take away from other Premier League teams as well. But Diogo Dalot had a couple chances, I think 3 chances as well. Amad also had a few chances, but just kind of giving us a refreshing position, especially on that right side of the field, was really good for Michael Carrick, who just basically brought it in, and he allowed us to actually express ourselves on the right and pressure Villa with Digne and Buendia, running back to defend against Hasty, Dalot, and Amad. And the truth is, I was really impressed with what happened in that right side. In that left side, it was just basically Cunha that was running it. He was going back and forth. Shaw wasn't pushing up. Excuse me. Shaw wasn't pushing up pretty fast and pretty quickly. But we're going to do a tactical analysis afterwards. But Shaw wasn't pushing up too much. I think he only did like 2 or 3 runs in the first half, and then in the second half he kind of stayed back a little bit, while Cunha was doing all the running and blocking all the passing. But then, because of the 11-day gap, basically, obviously, like I said, refreshed right flank in our 11 as 2 changes were made from the defeat to Newcastle. Mazraoui and Sesko were on the bench. Now, there had also been an 11-day gap since the trip to Tyneside, and Old Trafford roared for a welcome return of the Reds at kickoff, and it had just been 2 weeks since United were last playing at Old Trafford. But that extended period that the game gave the sense that the wait for a contest on home soil had gone on much longer. Obviously, everybody was expecting Carrick ball. Obviously, Michael Carrick giving us a new lease of life. But it was a quiet opening period, as I said earlier. The visitors actually looked better, having been in much action more recently than the Reds. Because, like I said, I expected that they were going to be tired when they played in the Europa League. But if it's eventually, I mean, they won in the Europa League, the only English team to win in the Europa League on Thursday, and they were pretty fresh, a few changes here and there and all of that. So basically it was tough. But despite that, there was still a little in the way of clear opportunities early on, with Lenioro actually doing well to head clear under pressure from Amadou Onana, and as he flung himself at Morgan Rogers' cross in from the right. And like I said, key player for Aston Villa to look out for was Morgan Rogers, and in truth, he tried to make things happen, and I think he's one player that Manchester United should be looking at as well. We're going to talk about that in another video. More impressive defending came from Harry Maguire, who kept Oli Watkins at bay, and the England defender having perfectly tracked his compatriots run down the left flank, and United actually began to find more rhythm ourselves, and Cunha actually beating Lamar Bogard down the left and delivering dangerously into the middle. That was one of the chances where Cunha crossed the ball in the middle, and Bumo dropped back a little bit in the front of the 6-yard box, while Amad challenged the ball, even while pulled by Tyrone Miggs, while he was trying to head the ball in front of net. So those crosses were coming in, and Amad also was unable to meet under pressure to an excessive degree. I mean, Reds behind the goal, the Reds behind the goal might have suggested from that Tyrone Mings was actually fouling Amad, and it was the first in a series of corners that over the minutes that followed. Carrick's side also coming at the midpoint of the half after Bogard was actually forced to put behind Dalot's whipped cross from the right. So Dalot put in a very juicy cross that any striker would kill to have, and obviously nobody was there to finish it off, and maybe I think Mbeumo was his foot away. But failing to produce a shot on goal from previous 2 corners, and only a blocked Fernandes shot, or a block shot from Bruno Fernandes to show for our opening 20 minutes work. It was almost a case of third time's a charm for Man United, when Emiliano Martinez was forced into action for the first time, and that was the time where I think Amad headed the ball. Maguire also nodded Fernandes' delivery back into the 6-yard area, while players suggested that John McGinn may have been holding back Casemiro. His header found Amad, Casemiro's header found Amad, who headed goalwards. Like, he headed that with power, but Emi Martinez at full stretch palmed it away, and it looked to be a combination of United's first wave of pressure, and was certainly the standout moment for the 10's opening 35 minutes. And when you look at the first 35 minutes, it felt like, okay, we're going to have possession, but then what can we make out of possession? And there were so many things, so many people we need to talk about that in fact impacted this game. United also turned up the intensity again at halftime. As halftime approached, Fernandes showed marvelous feet to get a half yard of space from Onana. I mean, that was that time where Onana was trying to basically get Bruno, and he just basically did a shimmy and turned, and it was beautiful to watch. And he played Casemiro infield, breaking into the box, only to see his low strike well blocked by Ezri Konsa. Now, the Reds also nearly went one better in the next minute when Bruno Fernandes picked out Dalot, who was running in behind. Like I said, Dalot in this game was the fly fullback, right? Was the one who was going into the mid, attacking from the center, attacking from the right, while Amad was shifting and drifting in when Dalot was outright. And if Dalot was in as an inside player or inside attacker, Amad would basically go out. So it was good to see where we were able to force Villa and we were dynamic enough to actually make, Dinya to actually have a bad game or a bad day, right? So basically the cross came in from Bruno to Dalot, who actually in front of goal fired it over. Like everybody expected him to kind of play well, but obviously I can understand the pressure. He fired it over, and the most important thing is that we were lucky that those chances that we're missing did not come back to bite us, right? But he fired it over with his left foot, and I don't blame him for that. Then Luke Shaw also had defended well against McGinn at the right byline, and there was time for one more Fernandes effort before the break, which was aided by a superb recovery challenge from Lenny Euro on Watkins. I think that one he slid and Lenny Euro got hit by Watkins in the knee, but he won the ball to tee up Amad to the counter. But obviously, Bruno curled that wide of the mark from the edge of the area, and I expected him to hit that ball. I think he was even looking from the slow motion. He was actually looking at the players or who to pass or the options to pass, and he shot that ball, and he kind of went wide of the mark at the edge of the area, meaning that it remained goalless at halftime. Now, obviously, like I said, the energy we used to start this Villa game was better than the energy we used to start the Newcastle game. And the energy kind of ramped up a little bit. And United brought the energy at the restart, starting well. We need moves from Bruno Fernandes with Luke Shaw. I mean, the cross was cleared also before Mbumo played in Amad to dart into the area, but he sliced the right foot shot wide off the near post, basically blew it really over the post, but it was a good attempt where actually piling up pressure. Cunha chested down and volleyed into the ground and wide before Fernandes countered and teed up Mbumo with Fernandes outstretched. With Martinez outstretched again to tip the shot wide. When I saw that shot, I was like, it reminded me of games against Man City, reminded me of games against, I think, Brighton, and another game like that against Arsenal. When he had that opportunity to shoot that shot, and he shot it, and Martinez saved it and put it wide behind from a corner. Now this time United actually made their set piece pay. Now the good thing about that was that shot, that chance from the counter attack that Bruno created for Mbumo led to the corner. So many people might see Mbumo and say, oh, his performance was not good enough. But the truth is, Mbumo's performance was what actually led to our first goal. Right, his running, his ability to make. I was observing Mbumo and he was making too many runs. Like there were so many runs. If the midfielder gets the ball, Mbumo is already on his bike. He's running. So it was good to see all those. It was good to see that he was actually making efforts, to run into space and to create opportunities for others. And that was beautiful. Now, obviously, another set piece. United made a set piece pay, and deservedly so. After the start of the second half, Fernandes curled in a near post cross for Casemiro to glance a delightful header across goal to beat Martinez and finding the net via the inside of the right post. Like, if Arsenal wants to know how to score set piece, I'm going to say this here. If Arsenal wants to know how to score set pieces, they should come and learn from Manchester United. If you look at the way we attacked that set piece, we didn't need to kind of crowd the box or do anything out of the ordinary. We just had to score the set piece, and we showed them how to score it. Now, honestly, immediately after the goal, it felt like we relaxed a little bit. And Villa ramped up their own. They responded really well. But from a looping header which threatened to catch Martinez, Villa actually appeared to be taking the upper hand and were aided by the introduction of an attacking pair of Leon Bailey and Tammy Abraham from the bench on the hour mark, like in the 60th minute. Now, minutes later, Onana was found at the back post doing well to chop inside, basically break while still slipping and initially losing his footing under pressure. But his shot was well tipped over by Seno Lammens, and that was actually his first meaningful intervention, his first save. And I think that will probably be the first shot he had faced. However, the goalkeeper also could do nothing about the Villa's next attack, resulting to the equalizing goal in the 64th minute after, Dinya had a low cross from the left, and I was inadvertently diverted by Luke Shaw into the path of Barkley. Actually, it was diverted into by Luke Shaw, and it was into Dinya, who played it across to Barkley, and then he just hit it first time low into the left-hand corner. The strike was just, I was sorry to check from VAR, and that was something that we have to actually think about when it comes to that VAR check, because in truth, when you hear, because I watched the game and I went back to watch the game again, then I went and I eventually watched the highlight using headphones. When you hear the sound of the shot, you will know that it touched Onana. But the truth is, at the end of the day, we won. That would have been a controversial conversation to have if that happened. But at the end of the day, like I said, we won, and that's the most important thing, right? That shot literally hit. You could hear the sound on the mic twice. Boom, boom. Like he hit Onana and went into the net. And obviously, they went and checked it, and they said it is not as conclusive enough as to decide whether the player touched it and was offside. Because if he had hit Onana, then Onana would have been in an offside position. And it was very controversial, but it contravenes. Now, another thing we were looking at was whether Onana was blocking Barkley's line of sight. But in truth, yeah, that was not it. But if you hear the sound, you know it hit Onana. And Onana knew, but it is what it is. We have to let it go. So the goal was allowed. And Villa actually looked resurgent, and hearts were in mouths, especially in the second half when the ball fell at Abraham's feet in front of goal minutes later. Fortunately, Dalot was perfectly placed to take the ball off his toes. Then strode forward again when Euro intercepted a pass down the right side, and United countered with the opposition boss already frustrated at this point at the breakdown of the side's attack. And that was the situation where Leon Bailey basically was taking the ball and driving to the box and forgot to pass, and then eventually the ball was taken away, passed to Casemiro as well, and United went up on the other end and got the goal that put us back in front. And that was that pass where basically Casemiro got the ball after Dalot intercepted, and then played and was driving the ball forward and played the pass to nice 5-year pass to Bruno Fernandes, who quickly in one touch just passed it into that channel and slipped a delicious pass for Cunha, who actually with the beating of Konsa on pace opened his body in one touch. Just after getting that pass, one touch, he opened his body and curled into the far corner in front of a rapturous Stretford end. Now, it was a very good goal to see at the Stretford end. And then, obviously, I was like, I said, seeing as Villa, this was before the game, and I'm going to, refer to that clip, seeing as Villa would get tired from the Europa League that they played and all of that, that if we started Amad, and we could now take off Amad on Bumo and bring on Benjamin Sesko to increase the pace of the game. And then, obviously, Benjamin Sesko could come on and get the goal. And obviously, Sesko was unleashed, was ushered in at the 75th minute, right? And within 5 minutes of coming in, he scored a goal. He got what had become, the late winner, or what you call a customary goal, to kind of seal up the win. Because if it was 2-1, it would have still been edgy. But as it was 3-1, it sealed everything. After Cunha's cross was cut out and, fortuitously, basically, deflected back into the path. Now, the one thing I would like to, basically appreciate Sesko for doing was the fact that he, in the process of trying to what I'll say, jump, like go behind the striker, the defender, to accept the pass from Cunha. Cunha played a low cross across the post, and it was blocked by Konsa. And then Sesko, what I wanted to appreciate, like I said, is Sesko jumped out. If you see how he leaped in like a cheetah, jumped out and basically turned and swiped that shot. He swiveled on the ball and shot it first time, finding the net with the help of a deflection off of Buendia and Tyrone Mings. Yeah. Tyrone Mings, and he gave him double figures for goals, making him to have scored 10 goals already this season, including 9 in the Premier League, especially for his debut season, right? 9 goals in the Premier League already. That's like such a good return. He should have played a part in the fourth goal. Basically, same kind of pass that Bruno created for him again, with 5 minutes of to play when he latched on to that same pass, that same type of pass that Bruno created for Cunha. That's what Sesko got as well. He now saw Amad in the far post. Now, I expected that he would have used his left foot to square it for Amad, but what did he do? He used his inside foot, like he wanted to place it to square for Amad, and it was too far in front of him. Now it would have, basically sealed the win to a 4-1, but he was caught in two minds and couldn't find his intended target, regardless whether it was Amad or whether it was the goal. Now, it proved no matter, even as Villa spawned a glorious opportunity of their own for Douglas Luiz, and I think the other new player that they brought on to replace Emery Buendia in the 9 seconds of the 8 minutes that was added, as United secured that vital 3 points in our hunt for Champions League qualification. Now, the truth is, I was pretty impressed with this performance. I was pretty impressed overall with this performance, with everyone. And just before we go, and then the next video you're going to be seeing will be the player ratings. Let's do a quick statistics for the game. Like I said, first time Man United had marginal possession and still won the game. We had a 53% ball possession to 47% ball possession. As opposed to other games when we have possessions and we barely win. And expected goals was basically 1.07 to Villa's 1.02, so it was pretty close. And we did our expected goals. Total shots was 16 for Man United, 9 for Villa. Shots on target 6 for Man United, and then 2 for Villa. Big chances created, 3-3 each. 2 big chances missed each as well. 409 accurate passes, 85%. To Villa's 360 accurate passes, 85% as well. So it was pretty even in the passing and in the chances missed and created. Then you also had the fouls. Man United committed 10. Villa committed 5. Corners was 6-6 each. So basically, we took advantage of one of ours. They didn't take advantage of any because they don't really score from set pieces. So if you go to the on the XG front, like I said earlier, expected goals XG 1.07 to United, 1.02, so marginal. XG open play 0.88 for Man United to 0.44, kind of double of what Villa had. And then obviously XG set play 0.19 for Man United, 0.58 for Villa, because they had, I think, a couple of more set pieces than Man United. And when it comes to non-penalty XG, 1.07 to Villa's 1.802, which are still marginal, similar to the XG or expected goals. Then XG on target, that's when Man United smashed Villa, 2.18 to Villa's 0.84. So it was pretty much, straightforward and pretty interesting to see. And basically, all players performed really well, and that's what we're going to talk about when we get to the player ratings. But then to wrap up in the event of the stats and stuff, when it comes to duels, Man United and Villa had 38 and 39 duels won together. So 38 for United, 39 for Villa. So marginal. Ground duels won. Man United 26, 46%. Villa 31, 54%. So they were winning their ground duels. And then air duels won. Man United 12, 60%. Villa 8, 40%. So Man United did better than Villa. And then when it comes to successful dribbles, Man United have 4, 44%. Villa had 5, 36%, but they had more dribbles than Man United. So it was pretty straightforward, pretty a good win, basically a good win. Had to mount moments, but it was a good win, and we have to take it. The truth is, I was impressed by most of the players and how they performed. Like I wasn't watching to look for lapses, but I saw lapses, but then they were not as bad as they have been for other games. Maybe because they deserved the rest and they deserved to see, and they kind of probably saw what Man United fans were saying. But it is what it is. Now, the next video you're going to be seeing after this one is the player ratings. We need to dig deep into this game. The subs that were brought on for this one, I think, basically, was Sesko and Ugarte. I think Ugarte came on and just kind of did a decent job playing in that defensive midfield role in place of Bruno Fernandes, in place of Casemiro. So it was just Sesko, Ugarte that were brought on the day. The other guys, Heaven, Malacia, Majari, Tyler Fletcher, Mount and Xerxes and Bayern just calling out Mount because Mount was on the bench and all of that. So it was pretty good. It was pretty good. Euro and Maguire were booked on the day. I think, yeah, and Casemiro as well. Casemiro was booked on the day as well too. He got a yellow card. So it was pretty good. It was pretty good. I'm pretty impressed with the game, and I liked it. I liked it. It was fun. It was less transitional, except for in the second half when Villa tried to be transitional. Before they were trying to be cagey, but it's less transitional. But we're going to talk about the things we learned about the game pretty much later as well. So after this video, look out for the player reading show. What do you guys think about the game? How do you think Man United performed? How do you think Michael Carrick did in the game? Let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comment section as we continue to build momentum, as we continue to, kind of make things happen in this game. I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking, sharing, and subscribing. Take care. Goodbye, and God bless.